Okay, so I have been testing out a lot of new makeup over the last few weeks, a lot of drugstore launches. I promise I have some videos coming on my channel that are not just solely drugstore focused, but a lot of the drugstore brands have been releasing a lot of new collections, a lot of new exciting products. So I wanted to come back now that it's been a few weeks and share some updates on everything and give you some really good, thorough reviews. So with my speed reviews videos, I usually split these into 3 categories. I'll share the products that didn't work for me. Maybe the formulas are not good. They're just products I personally don't think are worth the money, or they just didn't work for me personally. Then I'll talk about products I really liked that I think are really great options if you are in need of a new makeup product in that category, but they aren't necessarily like the top tier products, the standout favorites in this video. And then I'll finish up with my absolute top favorites, the things that I've incorporated into my daily routine that I cannot get enough of. Like I said, I have applied the majority of these products on camera, so I'll include some actual application clips in case you didn't catch my previous videos, and of course some close-up shots, some swatches, and I'll make sure to link everything that I talk about in the description box below. Okay, let's start with this little quad from Covergirl. I will say that Covergirl is a brand that I've really started falling back in love with over the past year or two. They used to be one of my go-to brands, and then there was a big time period where I wasn't using the brand, and then I just wasn't loving it. But I feel like a lot of their recent launches, like I said, over the past year or two, have become favorites of mine. This is definitely one of the exceptions. This did not perform well. The photos online make it look a lot more exciting than it actually is. It's their new eye enhancer quad in Bellini Spritz. I'll put a picture of what this looks like online so you can see the difference. It is much less vibrant in person. It is very, very soft, a little bit more on the natural side, which might be appealing to you, but the actual formula is not good. This feels like an early 2010s formula. Very chalky, very dry. In fact, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this was the exact same formula of the CoverGirl quad I bought when I was like 12 years old. It's not completely unusable. Like, I've been able to make it work. I might reach for like 1 or 2 shadows to use in like the crease or use one of the shimmers all over the lid, but it's not a high quality formula, especially compared to their other eyeshadow quads. What are those called? I think they're just called like their clean color eyeshadow palettes or eyeshadow quads. They're a little bit more expensive, but the formula is a lot better. They're very rich, very beautiful, super easy to blend out. They have a ton of different color options. Again, not completely unusable. Like, I'm not going to throw this in the trash. I'll definitely reach for it on occasion just to get some use out of it, but it's not something I would recommend spending your money on because at this point, there are so many eyeshadow formulas that are significantly better than this one. This just feels like a very old school formula in my opinion. Okay, I kind of went back and forth on this next product. I feel like there are people out there who will enjoy it and I can kind of make it work for me, but in the end, it's a little bit difficult to use and there are just so many other options out there, even from this brand that I prefer. This is the new Essence Call Me Queen Dramatic False Lash Effect Mascara. I love Essence mascaras. I was really excited when they were launching this one because it has a very similar description to the Lash Princess mascara, but I think based on what I read, this one is supposed to be even more dramatic. I think the main reason this doesn't work for me is the brush combined with the super wet formula. If I used this brush with a different formula or this formula with a different brush, I feel like I'd be perfectly fine, but this brush is incredibly bendy. It is super flexible, which actually might be ideal for you because it is kind of nice to be able to get like those super tiny lashes on the outer and inner corners. But because the formula is so wet and the brush is so flexible, I feel like I have a hard time really building it up on my lashes. I like the way the brush separates the lashes. If you tend to deal with a lot of clumpiness with your mascaras or that's a look that you don't enjoy, the fact that this separates so well might actually be a selling point for you. But I feel like because, again, the formula is so wet, it's hard to really build it up. So I don't get a ton of drama. I get length, but not necessarily as much volume. So I'm kind of torn on this one. Like, if I let it dry, pretty much fully dry between coats and then layer it up, I can get a little bit more drama, but it takes a long time because the formula is so wet. So I'm going to keep using it. Maybe after it dries out for like a month or two, it might be really ideal. We'll see. It's just such a messy formula. Every time I use it, I end up with mascara all over my lid. I feel like it's a very frustrating experience when I use it, and I never love the end result unless I really take my time, like a good 10 to 15 minutes to fully let the coats dry and then go in with more. So I just feel like most people don't have that kind of time, but we'll see if it improves after like a month or two. I actually have a lot of really great products from Essence I've been enjoying, but unfortunately this was a big fail for me as well. It's the Meta Glow Duochrome Eye Pencil. Unfortunately, I can't swatch this for you because mine completely fell out and broke. This actually swatches beautifully. It does have like a little bit of a duochrome effect. It goes from like purpley to kind of blue, and there was like almost a little bit of like a nude in there as well. But unfortunately, it doesn't give the same effect when you apply it to the eyes. It's pretty underwhelming. Like when I apply it to my waterline, I feel like it barely shows up. When I apply it to my actual like lash line, I get a little bit more color to show up, but it doesn't really give that duochrome effect. So it's pretty underwhelming as a whole. It's not very expensive, but I really wouldn't even recommend it as like a regular liner. In the video where I tried this, a ton of you left recommendations on duochrome and multi-chrome eye pencils. A lot of people said ColourPop, some people said Moira, what were some of the other ones? Kaleidos, a couple of indie brands. I wrote them all down in a note because I think a duochrome eyeliner sounds like so much fun, just because it's an easier way to add like a pop of color to the eyes. So I do plan on trying some of those out, but if that's what you're looking for, I really wouldn't recommend trying this line from Essence. Okay, I was kind of on the fence with this product. I wasn't sure if I should count it as a fail or if it was something that was actually a good product that just had some cons. I'm actually including it in my fails category. I wanted to love this, and there is one shade that I feel like I will wear, but overall, I just don't know that the formula is going to be super practical for day to day, but you might like it. So just let me share the pros and the cons, and you can decide for yourself if it's something that you would like to try. This is the new Glosstopia Lip Slide Creamy Lip Oil from Hard Candy. It retails for $7.97. You can find it at Walmart. There are 4 different shades. First of all, these do not smell or taste like the original line. If you tried their original clear lip oils, those have like a very strong, almost plasticky, fruity scent and taste to them. I find them really unpleasant. I think the actual formula is nice, but that's the reason why I don't like those. These almost smell kind of like vanilla. There's maybe like a touch of floral in there. It's not unpleasant at all, but of course that's personal opinion. So there is no taste either. I just wanted to mention that. So that is one thing that really made me happy. I think they just completely did away with that with this new formula. These actually have pigment, so they are different than the original ones. They're pretty pigmented. I'll do some swatches for you, which I feel like does make them a little bit more difficult to use. If they were more on the sheer side, I think that I would absolutely love them and rave about them and use them really often. But because they have so much pigment, I feel like for me, in the way that I like to wear lip products, it's just a little bit too much for day to day. Now, if your preferences are different or your skin tone is different than mine, maybe you'll feel differently. They actually feel really nice on the lips. They have this oily, slippery texture to them. So they're not thick like a lip gloss. They're not sticky at all. Like they are that true lip oil feel. They just slide around, they move around, they don't stay in place really well. And because they are so pigmented, I feel like they just move outside of my lip line really, really quickly, which kind of causes them to look pretty messy, even if I pair them with a lip liner. You can cut down on that a little bit if you use like a very small amount of the lip oil. And I actually will wear this one quite a bit. This one is in Sugar Spin because it's pretty close. I mean, it's not close to my lip color, but it's closer to my lip color than these are. I feel like it doesn't look as noticeable if it's moving, and I wear a lot of nude lips. So this one kind of makes sense to me, whereas these are just maybe a little bit too vibrant for me personally. Okay, moving into my good category. These are products I really enjoy. I think they're great. I've been using them very, very regularly. They're not necessarily like amazing standout products that I like better than things I already use and repurchase and enjoy, but I do think they would make a really good addition to your collection if you were needing something and you wanted to try one of them out. There are maybe 1 or 2 cons that maybe lower them just a little bit on my scale, so I'll share those with you as well. Okay, let's start with the new ColourPop Weightless Liquid Blushes. These retail for $10 each. They have 8 different shades. They are available on ColourPop's website as well as Ulta's website if you're curious to try them out. These are a really nice option if you're looking for an easy liquid blush. When I first saw these, I thought maybe they would be a good dupe for the Rare Beauty liquid blushes. They're definitely different in my opinion. I don't find these to be quite as pigmented. When you swatch them, they look a lot more vibrant than they are when you apply them to the cheeks. Whether you use a brush or a sponge, I feel like they sheer out very, very quickly, whereas the Rare Beauty ones hold their pigment as you apply them. That might actually be a selling point for you. I know some people find the Rare Beauty ones a little bit difficult to work with because they are so richly pigmented, and some people really like them for that reason. If you want something that's a little bit softer, that is easier to blend out, not that the Rare Beauty ones aren't, but you don't really have to worry about over applying these unless you go in with a ton of product, then these might be a little bit more ideal. I just find that overall they can be sheared out super, super easily, and they can be built up, but not to the extent the Rare Beauty ones can. They do have like a nice luminous glow to them. They look really pretty on the skin. I would say the finish is maybe somewhat more comparable to like the Say liquid blushes than Rare Beauty, but I will say these do lift the foundation just a little bit. It's nothing too noticeable to the point where I wouldn't wear them, but I think because they have almost like more of a wet feel to them when I apply them to my cheeks, I do notice that if I go in with foundation first or a lot of foundation, that coverage is missing a little bit when I apply one of these. Also, in terms of longevity, they do stay in place well, but they definitely fade faster than Rare Beauty or e.l.f., in my opinion. I feel like they last pretty well throughout the day. Like they don't completely wear off, but by the end of the day, you don't see like the vibrant color there, even after maybe like 5 or 6 hours. So not the most long lasting either. Like I said earlier, I did try a lot of great products from Essence. They have launched so many good releases. I'll link my video below where I did like almost a full face of new Essence launches if you want to check it out. So these, I mean, I feel like they fall in between. Like they could be in my great category, but I tried to be very selective about which products I chose for like my best of category, just because I wanted those to be like the true standouts. I really like this primer from Essence. It's their Jelly Grip Hydrating Primer. I think it is a really nice option if you want a very lightweight, very hydrating, refreshing primer. I automatically compare like every single gripping primer to the e.l.f. Power Grip because in my opinion, that is like the strongest grip. It's incredibly hydrating, like it locks your makeup into place the best. And there are a lot of other options out there these days. And I think what's nice is some brands are doing gripping primers that are not as strong as e.l.f. I personally like the fact that it really locks the makeup into place all day long, but I know for some people it's a little bit too tacky. And if that's how you feel, I feel like you could really like this formula because it's definitely thinner. It has more of like a true gel-like consistency to it, so it blends in very quickly, very evenly. It is very refreshing. Like it feels hydrating on the skin, but it doesn't leave you with like a wet, shiny looking finish. I do find that it helps to extend the wear of my foundation, but definitely not as well as the Power Grip. Personally, I'd rather stick with like the Power Grip or the Jelly Pop because when I wear a tacky primer, I want it to make like an extreme difference. Today I'm wearing the Jelly Pop one, but I know there are people who want something a little bit less intense. And if that's you, I think this is a really nice option. Very similar to the new one from Covergirl that I've been talking about recently, but this one is less expensive. So I do recommend this. That kind of fits all of your boxes. I also really love this product from Essence. This does have a lot of negative reviews online and I was surprised. So I was reading through them to see what people were saying because I could see like a few potential cons, but not anything to really account for like the low rating on Ulta's website. And the reason it has so many negative reviews is because of the scent. This does have a very strong perfumey scent to it. So as you're applying it to the skin, you can smell it. But for me personally, once the rest of my makeup is in place, I don't notice it. So just something I do want to point out in case you are sensitive to fragrance. Other than that, I do really like this product. Now I know e.l.f. has their Halo Glow. Catrice has something similar. Like a lot of brands have done a glowy base that you can either use as a primer, you can use as a mix-in or wear alone. And that's what I thought this was going to be. But I do find that this formula is a little bit different. So if we're comparing it to like the e.l.f. Halo Glow, which I think is the closest dupe to the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, this is a lot thicker. I'll actually swatch it next to the e.l.f. Halo Glow just so you can see the difference in textures. That one is much thinner in my opinion, so I do find that that one mixes in well to foundation. This could be a good option if you're mixing it with like a tinted moisturizer or something that tends to be very thin, very runny, because it will almost add a little bit of just like substance to the product. But I do feel like on the skin, they end up looking pretty similar. This one has more of a smooth texture to it though. So I do think it is a great primer because it actually creates like a primer feel on my skin, whereas the e.l.f. Halo Glow, in my opinion, doesn't really do a ton in terms of actually prepping my skin for foundation other than adding a glow. This does come with less product than e.l.f. You get 0.47 fluid ounces, whereas e.l.f. is just like one or just a little bit over 1 ounce. So just something to note, this one is like half the amount of product, but it's also less than half the price. e.l.f. does have more shades than Essence, so that is something to note as well because you might be able to find a better shade match in the e.l.f. line. I think if you have e.l.f., you don't necessarily need to run out and buy this one just because they do serve very similar purposes in your makeup routine, but I do find that I would reach for this over e.l.f. if I wanted more of a smooth finish and I still wanted glow. So there's a new line of makeup at Walmart called Pretty Smart Cosmetics, and I believe it was the creators of the Balm Cosmetics are the ones who created Pretty Smart Cosmetics, but everything from Pretty Smart's line, I think is under $10, really affordable. And they have a really good selection of products to choose from. I've only tried, I think like 3 or 4 products at this point, but I definitely want to try more because I've had such a good experience with these. So one of my favorites is the Pretty Smart Conceal and Appeal Concealer. I have the shade 200 Light Neutral. This is a really, really good concealer. It comes in 36 different shades. I believe it's $8. When I first tried it, I think I was expecting it to be like your typical hydrating glowy concealer because it feels like that's what everyone is launching these days, but it's not. It actually leans more matte in my opinion, and I do think it has really, really good coverage. So if you're looking for more of a medium to full coverage concealer that has more of like a true matte finish when it dries down, this is going to be a great option. It works really well as a spot concealer. It's really nice under the eyes. Even though it leans more matte, I don't find that it makes my under eyes look dry, or like sometimes matte formulas can really enhance the wrinkles under my eyes. This one doesn't do that. It looks really, really good. And I think because I got a shade that's maybe like 1 or 2 shades lighter than my skin tone, it ends up brightening up my under eyes perfectly and it stays in place all day long, even on super, super hot days. So I have been a big fan of this, very long wearing. I just think if you want more of a hydrating feel, this might not be the most ideal formula for you, but it's summertime and I feel like I personally appreciate something that's very long lasting and doesn't end up moving or slipping around. So I've been enjoying it a lot. Another product that I've really been loving from the brand is their eyeshadow palette. So they have a couple of different options. This one is the number 102 palette. So you get 4 different cooler tone shadows. And I love a good cool toned eyeshadow palette. I feel like these days it's very easy to find cool tones because every brand seems to be doing them, but it's not always easy to find cool tones that are not incredibly gray. Like I feel like a lot of cool toned palettes lean so gray, so charcoal, so smoky. And I like that this has like a pinky tone, a purple in it. And then you do get this brown that almost has a little bit of plum and then this gorgeous shimmer. So again, I did a video using this. I'll link it in the description box below or include some clips of me applying the shadows. These blend out so easily. This is the type of palette that actually applies better than it swatches. I'll swatch it for you just so you can see what it looks like, but I feel like when you swatch it, it looks kind of underwhelming, a little bit dry, almost like slightly patchy. It doesn't look like that on the eyes at all. It's a buildable formula, so you can get a lighter, softer look, or you can get something a little bit more intense. I mean, some of these shades are obviously lighter, but this can go pretty dark and smoky if you do want that. So I find it very, very easy to work with. There is no fallout. It just looks really smooth, very even on the eyes. This is like a gorgeous satin shadow, and normally I am a fan of like a glittery metallic, but this just looks so pretty and soft. And I wore this when we went on a date night and I felt like it was the perfect, just like beautiful, soft, cool tone smoky eye. So I've really been enjoying this. I do recommend it if you like a good buildable formula. And if you're looking for a pretty cooler toned quad, I think this is a great option. I have a couple of lip products to talk about in today's video. Let's start with this one. This is the Makeup Revolution Lip Shift Lip Stains. I think this is out of stock. I don't know if they're going to end up bringing it back or not. If I can find it in stock, I'll link it in the description box below, but I feel like it went viral because it's one of those products that just kind of catches your attention right away. It kind of sounds like a gimmicky product, but it's really not. So it goes on bright purple, and then once it dries down, you remove that top layer and you're left with a really beautiful stain. On some websites, it says you can peel it off, and then on some websites, it says you have to wipe it off. It's a little bit difficult to remove. I felt like I had to really scrub it off to get all of the product to come off. It's not something that removes super evenly, but once it does come off, you do have like a really gorgeous pink stain. And then it says you can go in with more if you want a deeper stain. And I do find that the stain actually lasts well throughout the day. I would love to be able to use this as a lip liner because I feel like this would be the perfect option. I know a lot of people like using a stain as a lip liner, and it's a little bit difficult to apply in that way. It doesn't go on super evenly. Like you have to really go over your lips a few times to get a very even application. So one of you suggested using a brush to apply it, which I am going to do next time I use it, but I do think this product works. It's a little bit, like I said, hard to remove. Like you have to put in some serious effort, and there are other products that do something similar, like the Milani glossy lip stains. I find end up looking very, very similar on the lips, but those are a lot easier to use because that glossy layer comes off evenly. But I did want to mention or share my experience with this. I feel like it works well. The lip stain is really pretty and it does last. Another product from Makeup Revolution that I really ended up liking is their new Juicy Peptide Lip Balm. These smell really, really good. They're going to be a little bit different depending on which one you get. I feel like on the lips, they end up looking kind of similar because they're very sheer. So I don't think you need to run out and buy all of them. I would maybe go based on like the scent you like. And they do have a little bit of a tint. My favorite is probably strawberry, but these are very glossy. They look super juicy on the lips. They're very, very comfortable, and they actually have really good ingredients. They say they're infused with peptides, squalane, vitamin E, avocado oil, cherry seed oil, and chamomile extract. So a lot of different ingredients in there. And I do feel like once these wear off, my lips actually feel very, very moisturized. So these are really nice to like throw in my pocket when I'm running out the door, in my wallet, on the go, because they look very pretty. Like they're the type of product that you want to reapply throughout the day. They're definitely a true like squeeze tube gloss. They don't really lean in the direction of a balm. I know a lot of brands are doing like balmy glosses these days. These are like your typical juicy, beautiful, shiny lip gloss. The last product in this category is from Essence. These are their new Slim Stick lipsticks. I love Essence lipsticks. I think they do such a good job with their formulas. So whenever they launch a new lipstick line, I get excited to try them out. These are really affordable. They are $4.99 each. They have a bunch of different colors to choose from. This is a very thin, very smooth formula. I find that it just glides on the lips without any effort. It's just like very pleasant to apply. A lot of lipsticks have kind of like a tug to them because they're a little bit thicker. This is very thin. Again, just like a very silky, smooth, easy to apply formula. They definitely are not long lasting. And that's the thing, because it is such a beautiful, like silky smooth formula, I do find that it ends up wearing off a little bit faster than something that's maybe not quite as comfortable or something that's a little bit thicker. So I would recommend applying these on top of a lip liner. That's going to extend the wear a little bit. But if you're someone who's looking for comfort over longevity, this is a great option. And I mean, they're not going to wear off in minutes or anything like that. It's just as you're going about your day, as you're eating and drinking and talking, you might have to reapply these a little bit faster than you would more of a traditional lipstick. But because they are so comfortable and they don't have that dry feel to them, I personally think that's worth it in my opinion. So I'm really enjoying these. I think the colors are beautiful. Chocoholic is probably my favorite out of the two. And I think I'll end up reaching for these quite a bit once fall rolls around, and I am reaching for more of like a traditional lipstick. Okay, so that brings me to my last category. These are the products that I absolutely love, the things that I truly recommend. These are probably the best formulas, in my opinion, out of everything that I've tried, and the products that I'm reaching for the most, the ones that I recommend the most. Let's start with the Milani Conceal and Perfect Sun-Kissed Liquid Bronzing Drops. So before this summer, I wouldn't really call myself like a big bronzing drop fan. I felt like a lot of bronzing drops made my skin look muddy or streaky, and they looked uneven, and they just weren't super flattering on me. After e.l.f. launched their bronzing drops, I actually wore those quite a bit. I would mix them into my moisturizer, my foundation to darken it up a little bit, and I felt like that formula was the best that I had tried until now. I personally like this formula a little bit better. I think in terms of quality, they're very, very similar. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for because they are a lot different. This one is very lightweight. I feel like it definitely has more of a sheer finish compared to e.l.f. And I'm mostly just going to compare it to e.l.f. in today's video because there are so many out there. So this one actually blends in faster. Like you really don't have to work this into the skin for too long before you get a nice even application. I feel like this one ends up looking a little bit, is it shimmery? I would say that this has like a very soft, very fine shimmer to it. On my skin, it doesn't look full on shimmery. Like it definitely just gives your skin that luminous glow, but I do think it is maybe a little bit more noticeable compared to some of the other brands out there. The reason why I find this one just kind of like an easier go-to formula is because I don't really think you have to mix it in with anything. Like I could apply this directly to my skin and it looks even. And because it is more on the sheer side, I don't feel like I really end up over applying it. The e.l.f. formula is a lot more pigmented, so I do find that that one in my case is a little bit more ideal to mix in with like a foundation or a moisturizer, whereas this just goes perfectly on its own. Now obviously all of that is going to come down to your skin tone, which shade you choose. Each one comes in 3 different shades, but that's just my personal experience with the product. The big con, or the big potential con, is that this is an expensive bronzing drop for a drugstore brand. It is $16.99, so it is actually more expensive than e.l.f. I think the e.l.f. one is right around $12. $16.99 is a lot, not just for like a bronzing drop, but a drugstore product in general. And sometimes you can find Milani on sale on like Ulta's website. These were just on sale last week because the entire brand was discounted. So I would say wait until you can get a discount on the brand. I do think the quality of this product fits the price. Even though it's a drugstore product, it really does feel very luxurious, very high-end to me. So you really can't go wrong with e.l.f. or Milani. If you want more pigment, I would go with e.l.f. If you want more of a sheer finish, I would go with Milani. And if you're going to wear it on its own more than mixing it in with something, I would go with Milani. I love the Milani Anti-Gravity Mascara, and I personally don't have an issue with that one flaking or smudging, but I know some people have said that's been the case for them. So I wanted to try out the waterproof version just to see if it stayed in place a little bit better. First of all, this is like the most waterproof mascara I've ever tried. It does not move, it doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge. I actually have a very difficult time removing this at the end of the night. I typically use the Garnier waterproof micellar water, but I feel like even that doesn't really take this off. So if you have any recommendations for like a good makeup remover that even takes off like the most waterproof mascara, please let me know. So this product definitely stays in place better than the original. It does not move, but it holds your lashes up so well. I don't curl my lashes because I've told you before, I'm scared of eyelash curlers. I just have this fear that I'm going to pull all of my eyelashes out. Normally I rely on my mascara to like lift my lashes if I want any sort of curl. This actually lifts the lashes and holds them there like so well. Whereas some other waterproof versions sometimes feel a little bit heavy. This is just such a good formula. It's very easy to build. I think I like this a little bit better than the original because it's not as wet. Like it feels lighter, more airy, but it still gives you the drama. So you can really build it up and make your lashes look super voluminous, super long, and they stay that way all day long. So I'm sold on this one. The only issue is that I have a hard time removing it at the end of the night. So please let me know if you have a good makeup remover, because if I can get this off at the end of the night a little bit faster than I can with my Garnier micellar water, I'll be wearing this one like every single day. It has been forever since I've raved about an eyeshadow palette, but this is the one that really got me. Like, I am blown away by the quality of this. It's the LA Girl Sunset Daze eyeshadow palette in Summer Night. So they actually released two different palettes. They're both warm toned, but this one has like a few pops of color, whereas the other one is even more like warm and orangey. This is one of the best palettes I have tried in a really long time. I've always been impressed by LA Girl eyeshadows. I think their quality is really nice, but there's something about this one. Like, this palette truly blends itself. It is so creamy, so gorgeous on the eyes. It's very smooth, very even, super easy to work with. And every single time I use this, my eye look takes like 3 minutes. I used it on its own in a recent video. I'll link it in the description box below. It was a little bit of an interesting look. I did more of like a 2016 type of makeup look, but it's so much fun. It's a really beautiful palette, whether I'm using it alone or I'm combining it with other things in my collection. This color story might be kind of repetitive depending on your collection. I know that I do have other similar palettes or similar color stories in my collection, and I probably didn't need to buy this. Part of my job is buying new makeup and trying it out and reviewing it and having different options to compare just on hand, but I'm really glad I bought this one. Like, even if I wasn't sharing my thoughts on this on YouTube, I'd be reaching for this a good amount because it's just so easy to work with. So Essence did liquid blushes and liquid highlighters. I feel like Essence was a little bit late to the game when it comes to like this style of packaging, like the squeezy tube with the foam tip applicator. When I saw them, I was like, another one, like another brand. I'm not really that excited about them, but I'll try them out. I'm testing some new drugstore makeup videos, or I'm testing some new drugstore makeup for a couple of videos. I'm so glad I tried these and I didn't skip over them because this is my type of formula. We'll start with the blush. They both retail for $5.99 each, but the blush comes in 4 different shades. So I only have one. I have the shade Dusty Rose. So I can only speak for this one, obviously, but I think I probably will end up grabbing another shade or two because this has become one of my go-to formulas. This is definitely more of a subtle formula. You're not going to get over the top pigment with this, which I think is why it does kind of fit my personal preferences a little bit more than other brands, because typically I don't love a super rich, highly pigmented blush. I like something a little bit softer, something that blends in without a lot of effort. And I do find that that is what I get from this blush. You can build it up to, some extent, but again, I just think in general, it is meant to be a little bit more of a natural, softer finish. This blush applies perfectly on top of foundation. It does not lift my foundation at all, which is so, so nice because again, I find that with a lot of liquid blushes, when I apply them to my cheeks, they get very patchy, very uneven, and the foundation underneath doesn't look as good. This just lays on the skin so beautifully, so perfectly. Even though it is a little bit more natural, it's a little bit softer, I find that it actually lasts on the skin really, really well throughout the day. So I'm very impressed by this. If a pigmented blush is your thing, you probably want to skip over it. But if you do want something a little bit softer, just very easy to blend out, very easy to apply for every day, this is a really great option. It's pretty much the same case with the liquid highlighter. This actually comes in 3 shades. Again, definitely more of a subtle formula. I mean, I applied a good amount here because I want you to be able to see what it looks like on the skin. Oh, this kind of has like a vanilla scent to it, which I've never noticed, but I guess I'm really applying a lot here. This just looks so pretty on the skin. Like it looks dewy and gorgeous, but it's not over the top. It's not like a super rich, intense, really vibrant metallic highlighter. And I applied a good amount with this swatch here, but I feel like when you tap it onto the cheek, it just looks so pretty, so glowy, but really, really flattering. And again, it goes on so nicely over foundation, but even set makeup. Like if I take a little bit of this and tap it on over powder, it doesn't disturb my makeup underneath. I also tried this new blush from Essence. Now there are quite a few shades. I think there are maybe 6 or 7 different shades, and I only have one. I have Caramel Latte. So I do want to pick up a couple more. I'm not sure with these because sometimes within like a line, the colors do vary a little bit. Some are a little bit more pigmented than others. This one is pretty soft, pretty subtle. So just something to note, but the actual formula is gorgeous. It is incredibly smooth. It definitely has an intense glow to it. It's almost like a highlighter blush all wrapped into one. Like it gives your skin that beautiful, luminous, glowy finish, and it just applies perfectly. It's very smooth, very even. There is no patchiness, no streakiness at all. It also has a nice blur to it. So if you have very textured skin, that is a really key factor, I feel like, when it comes to blush. But you can tell it definitely has like that luminous glow to it. I was kind of sad at first because I thought they were discontinuing it's just called like the blush line from Essence. And I think they might be, but I think it's being replaced by this, which makes me happy because I think I like this formula just a little bit better. One thing to note, these are very, very soft. I ordered one that came completely shattered. So if you can buy these in person, that might be a little bit more ideal. The last product I want to mention is something that I don't actually have with me. I cannot find it. We were just out of town and I think I brought it with me, and I wonder if I didn't pack it because I don't know where it would be. But I believe I do have swatches from another video where I used it. It's from the brand Pretty Smart. It's their all-in-one face palette. So these do come in 3 different options, but they're not all highlighter palettes. Like some have matte bronzers, some have matte powders. The one that I tried is like a full shimmer palette. So 2 highlighters and then 1 what they call a blush, but you could also use as a highlighter. This formula is so gorgeous. Again, it feels so luxurious to me, but it's $10. And I definitely kind of see like the Balms influence in this powder because it reminds me of some of their luminous blushes that I tried years and years ago. Again, very natural on the skin. Like it doesn't give you that over the top, wet looking metallic highlight, which right now that's just not my go-to. When I wear highlighter, I want something a little bit more subtle, and this palette is perfect because it makes your skin look glowy, but it doesn't look like you're wearing a ton of highlighter. Like it just looks very natural, very smooth on the skin. It's almost like the Essence highlighter, but in powder form. So if you prefer powder highlighters, I definitely recommend that one. Again, I think I have to repurchase it because I must have forgotten it when I was repacking my makeup bag when we were traveling, but it is a gorgeous product, $10, an amazing deal. And again, Pretty Smart is the new brand at Walmart. I'm actually doing makeup for my cousin's wedding this coming weekend, and I feel like that would be the perfect bridal highlight palette just because it is so gorgeous. Like it just melts into your skin in the most beautiful way. So I highly recommend that too. So that's everything I wanted to share with you in today's video, all of the updates I wanted to give on all of the products I've been testing out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like drugstore makeup content, I film a ton of it. I'll link some of my related videos for you on the screen right now. And let me know if there's anything you want to see during the month of August so I can add it to my list. I'll see you guys very soon with a new one. Bye.